Hey chums, it's Heyow and welcome back to our family home. Thank you so much for subscribing, and if you're new to the channel and you want to be part of this family, just hit the subscribe button down below and also click the notification bell beside it for you to be updated with my latest uploads. Also, don't forget to like, share this video, and comment down below. For today, we are going to focus on our main niche, and that is dealing with life. 2020 has finally come to an end, but the challenges that we faced that entire year 2020 will remain unforgettable. You know, the intensifying political issues, widening economic inequality, climate crisis, calamities, disasters, of course the constant killings, and this global pandemic, COVID-19. They all affected everyone in every corner of the world, but of course did not affect every person in equal manner. We are all coping with those complex challenges which actually intertwined and overlapped and made our lives difficult, and even more difficult for those who are already living through dire circumstances. So with all those things that happened, is it really a good thing to look back? You know, we can't get away with it. Like, every now and then we would always try to look back on everything that happened last year, especially when we encounter the same challenges this year, but I hope not. I hope this year will be a better one for all of us. I believe that whatever happens to us should teach us a lesson, and even if those bad moments in our lives should motivate us, should inspire us, should encourage us to strive harder, fix our lives probably, and devise, new strategies to conquer whatever comes to our lives. So much of the world spent its time indoors and isolated from each other, for the majority of 2020, as a highly transmissible virus swept into every corner of our everyday lives, wreaking havoc across the globe. The rapid spread of COVID-19 led to a generation-defining pandemic which actually devastated families, crippled economies, and of course caught world leaders by surprise. It dominated news cycles all year as governments and institutions struggled to contain a virus that actually touched all lives without exception. This actually made 2020 a year like no other. But sometimes chaos and randomness can bring beautiful things too. I mean, what can we learn from that unprecedented year? Isn't it that the end of any year is traditionally a time of reflection? So I guess it's just fine, it's just okay to turn our heads back every now and then and, take a look at the past 12 months and consider all the successes, the lessons and opportunities for improvement 2020 has brought us. If not for today, then for the whole 2021 and the years to come. Okay, first, do you now understand the saying, health is wealth? Now, if I may ask you, what is good health for you? Because most of us actually confuse good health from just being free from all kinds of illnesses. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health expert or whatever, but it is a must, that we know that to lead a healthy life, a person must be fit and fine both physically and mentally. When you are constantly eating junk food, or it is okay for you to eat dirty food, like when you drop it and then you still pick it up and then eat it, or the food is already expired or exposed to open air for a long period of time uncovered, or you eat with your dirty hands without even washing them, and then you don't get sick, that doesn't mean that you are healthy. You are just surviving. This year, we became more cautious with the food that we are eating, and we somehow developed healthy lifestyle. We learned to maintain proper hygiene, eat healthy food, and boost our immunity by taking vitamins, things like that, because of course we're scared or we are afraid of getting sick. I hope we get to maintain those healthy habits that we develop because of this pandemic. Because, the things that we are investing, those material things that we are investing, or those achievements that we gain in life would be useless if it is our health that would be compromised or will be sacrificed. So please, please, please prioritize your health. Do not take it for granted because it is really, really important. Especially now, it is of utmost consideration. Number 2, it has actually helped us strengthen our family ties. We must appreciate the fact that we were given the chance, the opportunity to reconnect to our families, to our relatives, loved ones. And nowadays, as you hunker down at home with your family, your children or your younger brother or your younger sister may ask you questions about the uncertain times we're living in, and you may not have all the answers, but you tend to teach them how to handle tough life situations. That at their very young age, you are given the chance to talk to them about serious matters, and that's okay because that's when they learn. As long as they already have the ability to understand and comprehend. That's when they understand what is happening, and that's just okay because they're seeing it. So let's not leave them wondering why. At the same time, you have to tell them that eventually everything will be fine. You have to instill in their heads positivity and teach them how to be optimistic despite everything that is happening in the world today. Families are the cornerstone of our society, and amid the pandemic, families play an integral role in strengthening our solidarity and cohesiveness. It's understood that families are experiencing financial difficulties because of the economic and job situation, but we managed to endure all of that as long as we are with our families. What about those who are away from their family members? Like me, there's an open line of communication. We have so many advanced technologies nowadays which we can use to connect to our families. And that's okay as long as we can make sure that everybody's okay, everybody is safe, because that's what is important. So much for that. We are now going to the third one, which is cope with change through values. How is that? Values are what matter most because, they affect the decisions that you make. But situations like this can sometimes change our values. Things may not go as you planned, but because of the pandemic, we learn to develop if-then plans. These if-then plans give us backup plans so that we can still achieve our goals under the new normal. But as we go through, values and attitude play an important role. Now, what are the values that we developed? Creativity. We learned to create something, write, draw, build. And we were able to discover more of ourselves. Next is empathy. Thinking about other people's feelings, seeing things from another person's perspective. But sadly, people tend to forget this. Some people don't know how to be considerate, kasi ang daming matitigas ang ulo. Totoo yun. Mamaya, I will discuss about discipline. Third one is humor. We learn to calm ourselves by, smiling, laughing, doing TikTok, doing safe, silly things with the family, just to manage our stress, the stress that is brought about by this pandemic. Fourth one is optimism. That is being positive in life. Being optimistic actually improves our emotional well-being, foster better relationship, provide protection against adverse events, and actually develop the ability to engage with the issue or with the situation. So it is really important for us to be positive, stay positive. Okay, the fourth lesson is for me very important. That is global threats need global collaboration. Do you agree with me? Agree? Yes, I know you agree. Former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan referred to climate change as problems without passports that cannot be stopped at the border and can only be tackled if we cooperate. During this pandemic, the notion of global stewardship and the imperative to build stronger collaborative bonds across and between nations has ultimately become a necessity. But Although we have observed some international cooperation, sadly, it has only given way to, strategic rivalry and fragmenting power blocks. The United Nations call for cooperation to deal with the pandemic was hardly noticed. So, it is a lesson for every country that no country is totally prepared for any pandemic if the rest of the world is not. So COVID-19 somehow gives us an opportunity to, change course in this direction. Alright, the fifth one is compassionate flexibility. This includes education and work. The outbreak, of the novel coronavirus around the world has dramatically affected all aspects of daily life, and it actually led us to no other choice than to adapt and cope with the changes under the new normal. And one thing that is greatly affected by this is education. Students needed to adapt to remote learning by transitioning to online education and or through modules to protect the health and safety of the students, the staff, and the faculty. Study programs, university events, sports, graduation ceremonies, and other large gatherings were cancelled as the general public was advised to shelter in place and to limit or remove their contact with individuals outside of their household. The new mode of learning and teaching is actually uneasy, as both the students and teachers were simultaneously affected by corresponding difficulties. But this has also put responsibility to parents to guide and help their children in their studies at home. As regards works and jobs, many companies also resorted to, work from home modality. However, sadly, more of them were left without recourse and, were only relying now from their savings, if not from the government aid. Still though, they managed to exert some effort and develop strategies to survive because, no choice. You really need to develop strategies in order for you to survive. This is not a survival of the fittest. I don't know, whatever, but situations like this, you really have to be wise and strategic. Well, I hope this has taught us to value our jobs and not take them for granted. But the most important thing is, I think, in connection to this, people should learn how to develop career backup plans. We must have an idea of what we can do with our skills or what areas we'd be willing to learn, so that if we are forced to, in situations like this, then we can pivot, we can adjust. Number 6 is quite basic. Even if there's no pandemic, then we must always know that decreasing pollution benefits us and the planet. Now we understand. One of the good things that this situation brought is that it has put a halt on production and factories have shut down. Thus, air pollution levels are at all-time low. Another reason is due to travel restrictions and the reduction of public and private vehicle operations. Number 7, we learned to become thrifty. We learned to save up. We learned to value money. Alright guys, let me ask you, how many people under normal circumstances would have gone to the malls and shopped? As for me, I don't usually buy things I don't really need. At a very young age, when I was still in high school, I learned to actually save and value money because, I only have 500 peso allowance for 1 week when I was in high school. It's really, really, really hard to budget that amount for the entire week. And don't even know how I survived, but I did. So it's really important for you guys to save up and use your money wisely. So if you don't really need that thing, then do not buy it. Sometimes, I do that, but I don't usually buy things that I don't really need. I don't have a lot of material things. I'm not materialist. I'm not even materialistic. So let me ask you guys, how much of our spending is actually necessary? You ask yourselves, how much of your spending is actually necessary? We really don't need to spend as much as we do. How many of you realize that? Well, for those who spent a lot already on online shopping during the entire period of the pandemic just because you're bored, I guess you can relate. But do you agree with me? You agree with me, right? you also got to save somehow by not being able to eat out in restaurants and go to malls buying things for nothing. Hopefully, this has shown us that we don't need much to be happy. What we already have is good enough, and we just need to be grateful for it. The rest are actually just excesses, and look how we can actually cut them out of our lives. You are living without them now, and you are surviving. So let's reconfigure how we treat our, hard-earned money and learn to spend wisely. This has actually taught us also of the importance of emergency fund, right? Number 8, I guess we all now have come to an understanding that we are all equal. Situations like this, illnesses, natural disasters, global pandemic, they are all great equalizers. And they also highlight the disparities within our society. We are all susceptible to the same human vices, illnesses, consequences, because we are all human after all. I hope this situation helped us to, reprioritize our time and life purpose, realize what truly matters and what allows us to live our best lives. This is not the time for you to do stupid things, because even though you are doing something wrong and that makes you happy, that is not genuine. That is not genuine happiness, because that is wrong. And that may even be evil. And I tell you what, you're just wasting your time. Why? Because instead of doing the right thing and what can make you a better person, you are investing in something that might even ruin you in the future. So this is not the right time to do foolish things and stupid things, and rather help yourself become a better one, become a better person. Do what is best for you. Sometimes we don't need to consider what are the only things that can make us happy, because sometimes we get the notion that we are happy, but that is not genuine happiness. Life is too short to do stupid things. Life is too short to play. Alright, here comes now, second to the last, self-discipline. Did you develop that during this pandemic? I know for sure, for many of us, this wasn't learned at all. Do you even know that the call for discipline is paired with the call to love our neighbor? By keeping social distance and holding back from unnecessary contact with one another, we are able to show love and concern for those who are most vulnerable. As I was saying earlier, one of the values that we should have learned during this pandemic is empathy. So you must know how to consider other people's feelings or other people's situation. While the pandemic tenaciously pushes, our temperaments in terms of time and tolerance, we need to continue to push back towards educating, correcting, and growing through self-discipline. I am fully aware that no government is perfect, and every government in every nation has flaws. But while we love to blame governments, let me throw you the most important question. How have you contributed in managing the crisis as a responsible member of the society? How? Number 10, and the last one, but not the least, it drew us closer to God, and we learned to trust His process. When something bad is happening to you, it doesn't mean that God doesn't love us. In times like this, He just wants us to reflect. I hope you realize that. I know there are a lot of things that we learned apart from these things, but you can comment them down below. But I guess these are the most important ones. But we are left with one question. Did we really learn? Are we even capable of learning? Ask yourselves. I hope you learned something. If you want to say something about this video, please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to share it, to give it a thumbs up, and see you again in my next one.